Welcome to Geocache Adventures with me, Shadow Dragon 1, where I explore the world of geocaching. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts or on the Geocache Adventures Facebook page. You can also follow Geo Adventures on Buy Me a Coffee for a behind-the-scenes look on every episode. That's one word, GEO Adventures. It's free to follow, or you can become a member and unlock exclusive posts and information. Your memberships go a long way for helping support the podcast and are greatly appreciated. Hi everybody, Amy Shadow Dragon 1 here, and with me is returning guest Rich Cunningham, aka Grateful Cacher. You will remember him from Season 3, Episode 5, the Human Trackable miniseries Part 1. Welcome back.
Hi, it's nice to be back. Chance to talk geocaching.
Yes. Always fun. Thank you for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So today we're going to talk about pocket queries, which I actually don't know much about. But you, on the other hand, absolutely love them, correct?
Yes, they're something that I use every time I go geocaching. And even when I'm not, I mean, it's nice to have one. And if you're in an area where you aren't really familiar with, you just pop out the old GPS but they're very very worthwhile spending the time becoming familiar with them.
So this is a premium membership feature.
Mm-hmm.
But for those who aren't familiar with pocket queries, what exactly is pocket query?
Okay, a pocket query, there's a form on the geocaching website that's called Create a Pocket Query. And it's essentially a list of procedures or questions that you answer that you want to find certain types or parts of types of geocaches in a geographical area. I'm just going to open up here real quick. I'll go through the questions as usually. The first thing you have to do is come up with a clever title or a title. For the one I created today, getting prepped for this one, I called it Yankee Stadium because, being a Yankees fan, gotta be able to get to the stadium every so often. The first thing it's going to ask you is what day do you want it to publish? With pocket queries, they're automatically generated by geocaching once you get them completed. So you can select up to, I believe the number is now 1,000 caches as part of it. You can select the type of cache. You can make it any type. You can drill it down to where you want traditional caches or just virtual caches or event cache, the various types of geocaches. And then it will return just those caches. The size of container, any type of container that you want that, geocaching accepts. Then you can also put distinguishing things in there like, well, I haven't found it. It's enabled, or this cache is disabled. Various parameters on what you want to search for. You can also set the difficulty and terrain of the caches that you want to search for. When I go on vacation and I create these, I usually don't put much more over a difficulty of 2 on a terrain of 2 because I don't want to spend 2 hours hunting for something when I'm on vacation and I want to get those numbers up there. You can select them within just about any country in the world that will accept, that they can place geocaches in. Believe it or not, you can even select the Antarctica. I think there's 40 or so caches down there. So you can do that. You can also, within the United States, select and limit them to certain states. Like for me, usually I limit it to Oregon, Washington, and California, being a West Coaster.
Okay.
But as I explain later, you can also expand those if you want to. Now, when you first select it, you have to choose, well, where's this going to center on? You can use your home location, which everyone has. You can pick a specific geocache, and then it will search in that area, or a zip code, or you can actually go in and just put in GPS coordinates. Once you've done that, it will then allow you a radius of that point. And it can be anywhere from 1 mile to think it's up to 500 miles now. I'm not sure. But what would limit it is the number of caches that you're selecting. So say you select one for 100 miles and it turns 1,000 caches and they're only 5 miles away. Well, it wouldn't work.
Okay.
You can also select, I only want caches that were selected in the last week or between specific dates. For me, I do that if I'm looking to look for months, like I'm doing a Jasmer challenge and I need caches between a certain month and year. So that helps. You can also select the attributes that you want to hunt for, either to include or exclude. Like if you're doing a hiking one a challenge where you have to hike so many miles, you can put just ones that would have that.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, you put your email address in. And one thing I always do, when you submit this pocket query, it is going to come back to you with a number on the front of it. And it will be emailed to you. There's a box here that says include pocket query name in download file name. What that does is that will give you the number and also the name of your pocket query. Otherwise, if you have multiple pocket queries, you have to go, well, which one's in Oregon and which one's in Yankee Stadium? And that will identify it. The other trick I learned a long time ago, the very first block that you fill out is days to generate. You can generate every day of the week. You can do 10 a day, maximum of 10 a day. So you can, in theory, generate 70 pocket queries in a week. Now you can have it do it once, and then uncheck itself. You can run it every day of the week or every day if you want to, or run it once a week, or you can have it run it once and then boop, it'll delete it. So that's the basics of creating a pocket query. It might sound a little, intense, but I've played with them for long enough now that I feel comfortable in using them. So the other thing I was going to say is at the very bottom, when you're ready to submit the information, I highly recommend do not select the days to generate yet. And the reason for that is if you select that and you hit submit at the bottom, it will use up one of your daily checks. If you do not check that, you can submit it and then you can go out and look at it and say, well, is this the area I want? Maybe it lets you fine tune it before you actually submit it.
Oh, okay.
And I learned about this the first time when I was submitting one, and I used up all of my checks in one day. I'm going, wait a second, it's not ready to go.
Oh.
But, you can fine tune it, like I have, well, we'll get to that later. I think I looked today, I think I have 110 active pocket queries.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I don't update them all the time. But the reason for that, again, is I want to have flexibility for when I travel and where I'm at. One of the benefits to using it is if you're using your handheld GPS, some of the newer ones allow you to update via Wi-Fi. I've not had good luck with those. Now, I don't want to start any controversy here, but a lot of people swear by their cell phones. And, with the apps, the Cachely app, the CGO, you can update on the fly while you're out. My preference is to use my GPSR, and I just download them from my computer and they download them onto the device, and they're just sitting there fat, dumb, and happy anytime I want to use them. Now the olders I use a Garmin GPS, and that's all I've used for probably the last 15 years. It used to be you were limited to the number of pocket queries that you could put on a device because it was limited to the number of waypoints. I'm currently using a Garmin GPS Map 65S, and it holds every pocket query I have.
Wow.
Every one. So, and it's, but again, that's the way I use it. It seems to work well. So,
Okay.
but that's one of the benefits is especially, and again, not dissing the cell phone users, but when you're out on a mountain in the middle of nowhere, it's probably easier to get a satellite than it is a cell phone tower.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so you can run 10 queries a day,
7 days a week.
7 days a week, so 70 a week, and you can set them to either auto run or you can set it to where you manually go and tell it to trigger the run.
Mm-hmm. Or you can tell it to run once and it'll just delete itself. You won't see it anymore.
Okay.
Now, you can have an unlimited number of active pocket queries, but you're limited to the 7 days a week, 10 a day. So,
Okay. So we can have as many as we want, but we can't run them all on the same day,
right,
basically.
right.
Okay.
So like today, I did the Yankee Stadium when that was 111. If I'm ever in New York, I don't want to go poking around things in New York. So I just created one with virtuals and where I goes around with a mile around Yankee Stadium. So,
Okay.
just so I can remember how to do it. I think you're limited to, when you first had pocket queries, you were limited to, I think, 500. And then they increased it a few years later where you could do 999 in a query. And I think now they've bumped it to 1,000. So that's, nice. I mean, figure that's 7,000 geocaches. Is that right? 100, 10. Yeah, that's a lot of geocaches to have on your device.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And there are some other methods of creating them too, like my friend Blue Moth, who is we were talking earlier about pioneer cemeteries in Oregon. She's created a list of cemeteries in Oregon that have geocaches in them, and that's a list. It's not exactly a pocket query, but it is a list, and you can also import that into your GPSR as well. There's also another query that's, if you're a vacationer, that works really well. It's called Cache Along a Route. And that allows you to, say I'm going from Portland to Los Angeles. I can draw the route that I want to take, and I can search along that route. I can go a half mile off of I-5, a mile off I-5, so that if you're driving down the road and you catch something that might be interesting to look at, you can do that as well. A lot of flexibility in this.
So when I create a query, list or pocket query, can other people's, like you can find other people's list on geocaching.com. Can you find other people's pocket queries on geocaching.com?
I want to say yes. I'm going to look at one of mine right here. I think there is a way to make it private or not. I know you can do that with lists. I'm looking in the pocket query. I don't think you can share a pocket query.
Okay.
You can share lists, because I was just going to look back and look at mine. Lists, I think you can share. Usually if you go to a geocache page, at the top, on the right side, there'll be something that says, people will put their lists there. And I think if you were to put a pocket query there, like the one I was telling you about, my favorite cache that I just told you about, someone put a bookmark list there, and you can create a pocket query from that.
Okay.
It's just a little click on it. Let me see if one's got a few more. The one I was telling you about only has one. So, and a lot of times you can share your pocket queries to that, I would think. A little rusty on some of this stuff, but you get old, you forget that. Another thing I've noticed on the geocaching page, there's a section for premium features. That's where you find the building pocket queries. There's also a place where you can create lists. And I believe lists are what you can share for to allow the public to take them. I think you can also share cache along the routes. Oh, for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. See, I've got a list here of railroad history caches. Lists are good for if you're trying to keep track of a challenge that you're working on. And this one, yeah, this one will let you share. If you create a list, you can share that. Oh, I'm surprised it won't let you share a pocket query. Oh, have to give Brian a call and say, dude, get going with this. Now, the cache along the route, that's on the same page where you go to create a pocket query. There'll be one that says create a new query. Right next to that is find caches along a route. And
Okay.
you can set up existing routes. There are people that create these, and you can search for them. I'm just looking at some of the ones. Wow, I forgot I created some of these. I think you're limited on a cache along the route. I think you're limited to 500 miles. So I have broken them up, to 480 miles, and then you can create another one because it's more than 1,000 miles to LA.
Right.
Another thing I found handy for with pocket queries is virtual geocaches, and also webcams, caches that there aren't a lot of. I've been able to go in and set up a pocket query for all the virtual geocaches in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
And the way you would do that is select just the webcams and then go down and just select the 50 states one at a time. Unfortunately, for some reason, they don't have the United States listed as a country you can select, which I thought was kind of interesting.
That's
but
a little odd.
yeah, but to some of them, in fact, I was just telling is it down here on the virtuals? Let me see what it says. Yeah, my virtual cache, there are, trying to see how many there were. Oh, wrong column. But in that one, I had to select every state in order to get the result I wanted. I have it for the Western U.S. I guess I did have to. So the Western U.S. caches I have are basically Colorado West by selecting those states. And then it limited out at 925 caches.
Okay.
So, I have one for the island of Maui. I have one for the Gettysburg battlefield. And again, these are all selected, again, by the parameters you select. Coordinates, other geocaches, zip codes. If you use a zip code to select it, it goes to the actual post office that zip code is set to and searches from around there.
Okay.
Oh yeah, webcams. The webcam cache I have, I guess there are only 70 active webcam caches left.
Yeah, they're dwindling fast.
Yeah, well, we always hope they can come up. Let's see. Yeah, and then when you go to select it, you can, after you create a geocache or a pocket query, you can go back and look at the results. And I'm just looking at the one I created for the webcams, and yeah, it's the map of the U.S. So, like you say, there just aren't a lot of them left. And that's why I say when you go to create one, don't choose the date or time that you want to submit it to have that, because then you can go back and look at it and fine tune it. Like when I was doing the one for virtual geocaches in the Western U.S., I would go back through and I would select all the states. Oh, that's over 200. That's over 1,000. So I go back and kick a couple of states out until I got the number I want. Then I select submit it. I think mine generates every Monday.
Okay. So these are really beneficial for if we're looking for something very specific, for attributes or size or type or anything, and
Geographic area also.
Geographic area, and they can be used offline versus pulling up the app and having it live.
Yes. I believe some of the newer apps on the phones, you can do them not live, but I mean, you can call them up there as well. Again, I don't use pocket queries on my smartphone. I just, I just don't. I'm so used to, 95% of what I do is on my GPS. I use the smartphone when I'm in a parking lot with time to kill and see, hey, is there anything in this parking lot I haven't found yet? Oh, yeah, light pole cache right over there.
Well, I know GeoGo is one that you can do the offline pocket queries with. And of course, we have handhelds. So, what kind of file type does it email you when it runs?
If I remember, if it's over 500, it will zip it and compress it.
Okay.
But it exports it in a GPX format.
GPX. Okay.
And let me check one thing real quick. I think it will, when you select the query, you also have the option of, there was another format I wasn't really familiar with. It's called you can select GPS exchange format or what's called topographics format. I think that's the GPX is .gpx and the topographics LUC format is a .loc. I've never used those, so I'm not familiar with what they, what format that is.
So you would really just need to know what your device you're using is going to take as far as which file type it is.
Right. And I can't speak to anything other than Garmin. I'm sorry. I've never used Magellan. Are there any more even out there anymore?
Oh shoot, I don't know. To be honest with you, Garmin's the main one I'm familiar with.
Top dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's, when I'm on vacation, I will set this up before I go on vacation or I take a trip, and it's just more beneficial for me that way. Again, you get 10 geocachers together in a room, they're all going to have different opinions, but this is what's worked for me. Now, I mentioned GSAC before. Did I do it while we were live, or?
I think that was before we started this.
Okay. Yeah, there is an excellent app out there. Actually, I think it's a computer program. It's called GSAC is how it's referred to, and it stands for Geocaching Swiss Army Knife. It's been around for quite a few years. I played around with it, but honestly, it's above my head. But there are some geocaches out there that swear by it. That gives you the ability, like if you want to create a pocket query, you can go in and draw the part of the map that you want to search at. It's extremely complicated, again, for me. We have a cacher in our area named Long Trails, and I swear you ask him a GSAC question, he doesn't even have to look at it. He's got the answer. The developer of it, I think, has released the source code for it. So it's, got a lot more flexibility with techno geeks that want to adapt it and improve on it. I think the only drawback is, the last I heard, it is only on the Windows platform. It's not available for Mac or Linux or tablet or formats. So
okay.
They've come a long way since I started using them, to each their own, I guess. But I have fun with it.
You said you had over 100 pocket queries?
Active pocket query, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, a lot of them I've configured for special things. Like I have every Earth cache in the United States, but I had to do 6 different pocket queries to get the geography to fit. I have all the where I goes. I have all the geocaches. I got all the webcams, all the virtuals. So, and again, it's just the flexibility of, after I retire in 47 days and a wake up, I'll have some time to put those into practice.
That's pretty cool. I'm thinking about all the things so like on the app, the premium members, at least there's that filter search option for the live map. And it sounds like you can pretty much search everything from that filter and then some using the pocket query. Because you mentioned attribute, size, difficulty, terrain, type,
location. Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed at how many attributes there are now that are available for um, geocaches. I mean, I was looking at them here. I think there's one, two, three, there's over what 30 different types of attributes.
There's a
40?
lot of attribute types out there.
Oh, over 40. So when you create a new cache, you have to take all those into consideration. But when you're searching for them too, you can select the ones for when it was created. I've got a few that I'm still trying to keep my Jasmer up to date because I'm good on the other end, but the newer stuff I'm got to keep up with the new stuff. So, and again, it's like I say, if I don't want to go searching for 2 hours for a difficulty of 5 when I'm on vacation, I can pare it down to what I like.
That's cool. I like it. I'm gonna have to start poking around with that a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a YouTube on it somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure. There's a YouTube for everything.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think what else I could mention about them. I mean, anything you want to search for, you could probably find. I mean, I just thought off the top of my head today, a mile radius from Yankee Stadium. It took me 5 minutes to do it. It was that one that one I sorted by zip code because I didn't know if there were any caches around it. I just Google zip code Yankee Stadium. It spit out about 45 virtuals and a couple of where I goes within a couple miles of Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
So, and again, it's as long as you don't hit submit or select a date and time to submit, you can play around with it all day, fine tune it to what you want.
It sounds pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm sure a lot of the listeners and viewers are saying, "Oh, we've used pocket queries before." But there are so many new people coming in to the geocaching world, and now that we're entering into this post-COVID world now, we're starting to see some introduction to geocaching classes pop up.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we'll have some people that are wanting to get out and pay $6 or $7 for a gallon of gasoline to go find a geocache somewhere.
Yeah,
and
that gasoline prices are hurting.
Yeah. Well, you're in the Midwest, aren't you?
I am. I'm in Missouri, and right now in my area, it's $4.45 a gallon.
Shut up. Our state average just went up to $5.15.
Yeah, I know it's worse in other areas, but it still hurts when I'm at the pump having to fill up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I went to Southern Oregon last week, and round trip I think was around $190. Usually it's a lot less than that. Oof. But anyway, yeah. So that'll limit my retirement a little bit. You see me standing out on the side of the road hitchhiking, looking for we'll work for geocache. So.
Oh, that's great. Well, you have a cache highlight for us.
Oh, yes, I do.
We were talking about this a bit before we started recording, and it sounds really interesting. So I'm sure the listeners are going to love this one.
All right. Well, it's a virtual geocache, and it's located in Southern Oregon. The GC number is GC9, P as in Paul, 4, V as in Victor, H as in Hotel. And it's called Pioneer Resting Place. And you can probably catch that it's going to be a cemetery. It's located in the town of Jacksonville, Oregon. And Jacksonville was the original county seat for Jackson County. It was a big boom town during the gold rush back in the 1840s, 1850s. Well, this is the Wild West. There's a lot of pioneers up there. And there was cowboys and Indians. There were some battles between them. There was a family that was attacked and killed. Well, the husband was killed, the son was kidnapped, the mother and daughter made it back to Jacksonville, Oregon. Well, they stayed there the rest of their lives. Now, this geocache is a virtual. The only thing you have to do to claim it is they list a brochure that you can view online and take a picture of one of these headstones. Well, it turns out that one of these headstones was the husband and wife of this massacre. And what I thought was very interesting is, let's go back about 50 years. I'm a third grade student, and they're taking us to this museum, and they're showing us, the history of Southern Oregon. And in there, I was attracted by a shotgun and a Bible. And it turns out this was the shotgun and the Bible that was used by the wife and daughter in that Indian attack. So, here's this up close and personal piece of history that I learned when I was in third grade. So when it came time to do this geocache, their headstones were one of the ones. So I did that. Now, what I also found out a few years ago, when we went to the museum to visit it, the docket that turned us around and guided us was actually the great granddaughter of the husband and wife that were killed in the Indian attack. So it was like, it kind of brought it home a little bit. Those are the things that I really enjoy about geocaching. They take you to these places that are historically relevant, either to your growing up or to people that are visiting. It's just, whoa. So highly recommend this geocache. It's only been found, let me see, it's always been found about a dozen times now. But Jacksonville's a cool little town. They have a music festival there every year. Chicago's coming this year. ZZ Top will be there in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, that's when I gave it a favorite point again, because actually I gave it a favorite point, but yours truly also has a physical geocache going into the cemetery. So pick up on that one.
Nice.
Pick up on that one on the way in. Yeah, mine was based on when I was going to high school there. They filmed a major motion picture there starring Cliff Robertson. And they turned the town, made it look like the 1880s again. And the opening scenes is they are riding through the cemetery.
Oh, wow.
And it was I'll give you a twofer. I'll give you the GC for that one also. It's GC71 FT. And it's called the Great Northfield, Minnesota Raid. And that was the name of the movie that they filmed in Jacksonville. And one of the things that I always found so interesting about that movie is, they filmed scenes around town trying to make it look 1880s and all that. Well, when they're riding their horses by the courthouse, they have the same 1960s, 70s metal picnic tables out in front of the hotel. Someone missed that. So it's like, God, it was so obvious. And, but it was a fun movie. It was fun having all these people come through the town. And of course, in Oregon, we're noted for rain, and they filmed it in November. So there were a lot of mud scenes and stuff. But, yeah, that's my second favorite geocache. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of interesting historical stuff down there, a lot of hiking trails, lots of geocaches.
That's awesome. Well, Rich, thank you so much for joining us today and talking about pocket queries with us and explaining that process. I learned a lot for sure. And thank you for highlighting these two caches for us. They sound like an awesome area, and I'm going to look up that movie, I think, and see what that's about.
Yeah. I think it's available on YouTube. I think it's free. I saw it. You can watch it for free. You don't have to pay for it. But yeah, it's thank you for asking me to be here. I hope I didn't ramble and bumble on too much. But you get to talking, and one thing leads to another.
I love it. I love the stories that come out when you just start talking about geocaching, and
yep,
it's fun.
Thank you for listening to Geocache Adventures. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you heard of FTF Magazine? It's the magazine for geocachers, filled with articles and snippets sent in by geocachers just like you. I'm a subscriber myself, and I love it. Check them out today at ftfgeo.com and tell them Shadow Dragon 1 sent you. Would you like to be a guest on a show or have a topic you'd like to hear covered? Reach out and let me know. Just go to the geocacheadventures.org website and click on the contact page to reach out.